everybody, so I hope you're having a really fantastic day. Today I'm going to share about everything to do with potty training, our whole experience, how very real our experience was, and it's not going to be like a 3 steps to 3-day potty training kind of video, because is it real? I don't know. I think it is for some people, but it certainly wasn't for us. So I'm going to share with you the real, raw, nitty-gritty of our potty training experience and just how the whole thing panned out in the end. If you'd rather read this, then I have written a full blog post about it, so go down below, click on the link and you can read that over on my blog. So the whole potty training experience started last October in 2018, and I felt a lot of pressure from other people who were commenting on the fact he was still wearing nappies. He's quite a big child with definitely a big head. He looks much older than he is, I think, and so I think a lot of people were mistaking him for a 3-year-old already, when actually he was still only about 32 months. A lot of people say that if you have a boy, don't even bother to potty train before they're 3. I don't know, obviously I end up agreeing with that, but let's get to that. So in October, I was like, oh, it makes sense to try and see if he'll potty train before we move, because I knew we'd be moving at the end of the year. So we went out and he chose some pants from Marks and Spencer's, and then we went to IKEA and we got the potty, the toilet seat and the step, and they're all pretty good. I would definitely recommend them if you are on a budget and you want something that works. We also bought this book, Pirate Pete Potty, which he absolutely loved, and he probably would still love if it wasn't back on the other shelf, because he doesn't really need it anymore. And basically all we did was we put the pants away in the drawer, we put the potty in what was then our like toilet room in our old house, and so just talked about it every time me or Pete went to the bathroom. We would just talk about what was happening and just kind of let him in on what was going on. We also gave him the book straight away and he just read it through, and it's a really cute little book, and it's got this little button that goes yay when they've like gone to the potty. It's great. It's a fabulous book. He was really obsessed with it, and I think it did teach him subconsciously and consciously some of the things that were about to happen. So I think as prep, it's really great. I think they do like a princess version of it as well if you've got a girl. So the other couple of things that I bought were these, which are the Bambino Mio training pants. Totally the wrong way around. They are basically just pants. So these are like regular pants, so they're a lot thinner, but they're the same size. They basically just have kind of like extra padding, and one of my lovely friends had the like girl set, and she had said that they were really great because it just takes any kind of stress out of going outside of the house, because they're just that bit more absorbent. So anyway, bought those as well, and also bought a timer for using for the initial process of the training, and this actually worked brilliantly. It's like a really loud, very bright timer, and so useful. It ends up being called the poo timer, and I'll tell you why. So the next thing we did was to allocate a week to the potty training, and then just kind of get it in the diary, say this is potty training, nothing else is happening this week, and just go for it. So I took the potty downstairs into the sitting room. That floor was carpeted at the time, so we used what we always use, which is the Early Learning Centre messy mat, and it's just a giant piece of plastic. Basically we use it for everything, and it's great for potty training. It's quite big, and so you can kind of put it out, boys can aim and miss, and it still just catches on the mat. So I put that down, put the potty on top, put it in the corner of the room, and just kind of got him half naked and encouraged him to use the potty every time he did a wee. And that was really, really easy. Kids learn that part super duper fast. Like, oh, wee's coming down my leg, you pick them up, you put them over on the potty, and that's kind of it for us. He was old enough to appreciate that then the wee went in the potty. He got a little reward. We did a sticker chart. I got this one, which is actually the original one that we used, which we didn't quite finish, and this is just a free download from a website. I'll make sure the link is down below. And then we just got dot stickers, big multi-pack on Amazon, and then just stuck them on, and he loved this. He loved this when we first did it, and he loved it when we did round 2, and it's just brilliant. It's a super way of doing it, much better than actually giving sweeties or anything like that, although we did do that as well second time round. The timer I used, so I basically wasn't panicking myself and asking him every 2 minutes, do you need a wee? So I would set it for 15 minutes asking if he needed a wee, and then basically after that first day I kind of set it every half an hour, and then I kind of got used to when his rhythms and patterns were going to happen, and then he did as well. So it kind of was redundant, but so useful. I still use it in the kitchen as well because I get distracted by my toddler, so it's useful to have a very loud noise in the kitchen. So we got really far on. After about the third day, he was doing wheeze and poos in the potty, and he was doing brilliantly. But when I started trying to put him in pants, he was not sure what was going on. We went out, he just weed. He didn't care that he was wet, and you know, he didn't even cry. He just didn't. I couldn't pick him up because he was covered in wee. We just had gone on a little walk to the local shops, and he just wet himself on the way back. But yeah, he just didn't really kind of understand the concept of it not being a good thing to be wet and smelling like wee. So anyway, we had that one trip out, and I just thought, oh, okay, that's a bit funny. Maybe we'll just try again and he'll understand the second time. But then also with the pants, he could not pull his own pants down and back up again. We had not practiced that at all. And so in hindsight, if I'd have practiced that before, we probably would have done potty training brilliantly that time. So I would definitely recommend to anyone thinking of starting potty training to practice the pant pulling up and the trouser pulling up. Also make sure you have a lot of pants and mostly trousers that are easy and elasticated waist for the kid to pull up, because otherwise it's going to be really difficult. Obviously you can do it yourself, but it's nice for the kid to have the freedom, and especially for us, we were looking to send him to preschool, so he needed to be able to do all of that by himself. So having felt kind of rubbish that we hadn't really got very far, and I basically needed to stop because we were approaching Christmas by the time we got to this point, so we were like in end of November by the time we'd actually got the week in the diary to do the potty training. And so I was like, oh, we're just not going to be done by Christmas. I can't. It was just too stressful, and I just didn't think he was quite there. So I thought, okay, stress over. Let's not do this. Let's wait until we've moved house, and then we'll start again when we have some time. So the next available time slot, which was a 2-week period, was the Easter holidays, because we started preschool back in February, and half term is not long enough. Easter it was. I bought this brilliant book. This is the Gina Ford Potty Training in 1 Week book. And this again took more of the stress out of, am I doing this right, for me. Gives you just like a daily plan. It's quite realistic, I think, about quite what to do, and especially really good with the next steps on how to get them dry in like the naps and midnight, and what to do in different circumstances. I just think this book is fantastic, and it's teeny tiny, so actually if you really need to carry it with you as a reference, or you're on holiday or something, still very useful. One of the things that Gina Ford says about, which I totally agree with, is not to do like training pants, because they just get confusing. So when we started round 2 in Easter, we basically said, you're not wearing nappies anymore, you're going to wear your big boy pants. And for just the first day he was naked, so that he could remember what to do. We had the potty in the room. He just totally remembered exactly. He just got straight back to where he was in the training that we'd done in November. So I didn't even need the timer. He was just good to go. He was really happy to use it. The second day we put pants on, he was not sure about wearing pants at all, even though we'd gone and chosen even more pants, so we had a lot more that week and I was more prepared. So he just was really fighting the pants. Sometimes I just said, okay, you know what, it's not necessary, we'll just wear them later when you fancy it. And then we wore them later when he kind of fancied it and just was naked at home. On the third day of the training, we actually had a visit to a friend's house in the car, and I was just not feeling hugely confident that he knew how to ask, like, Mummy, I need to stop the car, I need to go have a wee. He hasn't worked that one out yet. So I put him in nappies that day, and we just kind of did the day like normal, and then came home and took the nappies off, and that was the last time we wore nappies. And I don't know, I don't regret doing that because it made it less stressful and much more enjoyable for me. The day after that, so the 4th day, he had so many mistakes made. He pooed himself, he weed all over the kitchen floor, and after having tried to have a wee, and then he yeah, he weed all over the kitchen floor. It was just so bad. And that day I was just like, oh dear, I've totally messed him up from yesterday, and we're never going to get anywhere with potty training, and this is just all just too stressful and horrible. And anyway, we persisted, and I just kept forcing pants on him basically, and that's when we started doing chocolate rewards. And I know everyone says it's like the only time you should reward your child, and it's probably true because it really did work. Then he was basically, it was about, because it was Easter, there was a lot of chocolate around anyway, so it was kind of a good excuse for him to eat the chocolate as well, because he was given a lot of chocolate. So anyway, we had like a little bit of chocolate every time he did a wee, and a bit more chocolate if he did a poo. And the same with the stickers as well. He did stickers at the same time, so he would do like 1 sticker for a wee, 2 stickers for a poo, and then if he used the actual toilet with the step and everything, he would get another sticker. So it did all work out in the end, because then by the Saturday, which would have been like the 5th, 6th day of training, I was feeling a bit more confident. My husband was feeling extra confident, so we actually went out for the day in the car. We'd bought this really fabulous car seat protector thing that just like slots in the bottom, so if you're a bit worried about maybe they might wee, then you can put that on. I'll make sure that's linked down below, because that's been kind of like a brain saver, even though it's actually never got wet at all. So we went out in the car, and we went out for quite a long time. He did not wee the entire time. We showed him where toilets were when we were out, but he just literally held himself for the whole time. When we got back, he just did the biggest wee, and at that point I was like, okay, he's got this. He knows how to hold the wee, he knows where the wee goes, he's got it, absolutely. And I just felt brilliant at the end of that day. I felt super duper confident. The only thing that we hadn't worked out then by that point was poos. So he had, I think, maybe done like 1 poo on the toilet, but he just wasn't in like a regular rhythm, and I think he was still a bit like afraid of using the potty. We just waited on that one, and then by about the middle of the 2nd week, he had cracked it basically, and he was just really excited to use the potty for his number 2s. So that was cool. And he's still, I don't know, he's a bit funny when we go out the house still. He still like holds everything for the most part. One thing that we did buy to help him when we were out is this fantastic foldable stool, because all toilet seats are just not quite the right height. He has to like stand on feet to be able to aim, and some of them are still too tall. So we bought this for when we go to like other people's houses, just to make it a bit easier to have a wee. The other thing that we actually ended up buying for him for travel purposes is the Potty Plus, because it folds really tiny. You can stick it in a backpack, and it's basically just like the seat that you sit on so you don't fall down a giant toilet seat. Also, since that basically 2-week period, he's been to preschool and been absolutely fine. He's learnt to ask if he needs a wee, and he hasn't had any accidents yet. So that's really good. Yeah, by about the 5th day of training, actually, he wasn't wet in his naps at all. So he was out of nappies for naps, and he's been dry for all of his naps, which is brilliant. Also, at night, he is almost dry. We're waiting for like a full 2-week period to carry on over until he is completely dry for all of that 2-week period, and it keeps restarting itself every like 11th day. So we'll get there eventually on the nighttime, but for the most part he is dry. But yeah, we still put him in these overnight, which are the Bamboo Nature ones. I did a whole video about like eco biodegradable disposable nappies, and this is still our absolute favourites. And so we've still got a few of those which we're going to use in the nighttime. Hopefully we won't need to buy a new packet, and he'll be totally through the last few. So yes, that is how potty training went for us. I hope that is helpful to all of you out there thinking about starting potty training. I would definitely consider making sure that your child can pull up their own trousers before you start potty training, and don't make that mistake like we did. And to also obviously start doing all that prep work ahead of time, just to make things a bit easier for yourself. Also totally recommend the Gina Ford book if you really want to make it super easy for yourself. And yeah, I really hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope this was helpful. Please share any tips and experiences down below, and thank you so much for joining me today. Bye.